Awakening is not a dramatic explosion of enlightenment, nor is it a mystical event reserved for monks, sages, or people who spend their lives in isolation. It is something far simpler, far quieter, and far more intimate. Awakening begins the moment you start questioning the reality you have accepted without ever truly seeing. It is the shift from living entirely through the mind's conditioning to living through direct awareness. Most people move through life carrying layers of mental habits, emotional wounds, cultural beliefs, and inherited ideas that they never evaluate. These layers become the lens through which they interpret everything: relationships, opportunities, failures, and even their own identity. This lens feels natural until the moment awareness deepens. That moment is the beginning of awakening. When awakening starts, it feels as though a small light has turned on inside you. At first, it flickers gently. You begin to notice the ways your thoughts shape your emotions, the way your fears create invisible boundaries around your choices, the way your reactions are often automatic rather than conscious. You realize that much of what you considered you was simply a collection of patterns programmed over many years. This realization can be uncomfortable, but it is also profoundly liberating. The illusions that held power over you begin to soften. Awakening is not about adding anything new to your life. In fact, it is the opposite. It is a process of subtracting, removing the false, unlearning old conditioning, dissolving illusions, and letting go of beliefs that no longer reflect your truth. You begin to understand that the world you experience is not the world as it truly is, but the world filtered through your mind's interpretations. Two people living the same circumstances can live entirely different realities because of the stories they tell themselves. When you awaken, these stories begin to lose their tight grip. You see them as stories, not truths. There is an intense clarity that comes with awakening. You start sensing the difference between thoughts that arise from fear and thoughts that arise from awareness. You see how much of your suffering was created not by life itself, but by your resistance to life. You recognize that the mind loves to complicate what is inherently simple, and slowly, moment by moment, you begin to step out of the mind's fog and into the crispness of direct experience. Awakening also reveals something subtle yet profound: the peace you were searching for in relationships, accomplishments, and external validation was always within you. You were simply too distracted to feel it. When illusions dissolve, this inner peace becomes more accessible. It is not a temporary emotion, but a steady presence beneath the noise. Awakening is not a final destination. It is the beginning of a new way of seeing, a new way of living. It is the recognition that truth is not something outside you. It is something you uncover within yourself once the illusions begin to fall away. One of the first illusions that begins to dissolve when you awaken is the illusion of control. Most people live believing they are in control of life, its outcomes, its timing, its movements, and its unfolding. They plan their days, months, and years with the silent assumption that reality should follow the script they've written in their minds. When life moves differently, they feel frustrated, anxious, or betrayed, as if something has gone wrong. But awakening begins when you notice that life has never truly followed your plans. It has unfolded through its own mysterious intelligence, regardless of your expectations. The illusion of control is comforting because it gives the mind a sense of safety, predictability, and order. It makes you believe you can manage everything: how people behave, how relationships go, how your career unfolds, how your future will look. But life is not a machine. It doesn't operate according to your preferences. Life is fluid, dynamic, unpredictable, and deeply intelligent in ways the mind cannot comprehend. When you awaken, you begin to see that control was never real. What you had was only the illusion of control created by the mind to avoid uncertainty. This realization is not about becoming passive or giving up. It is about shifting from force to flow, from resistance to acceptance. You begin to understand that while you can take action, you cannot dictate the outcome. You can plant seeds, but you cannot control the weather. You can choose your intentions, but you cannot control how life responds to them. Awakening helps you see that real strength lies not in controlling life, but in aligning yourself with it. The deeper you awaken, the more you realize that trying to control everything is actually a source of suffering. It keeps you tense, rigid, and constantly on guard. You become exhausted trying to manage things that were never in your hands to begin with. When the illusion dissolves, a profound relaxation enters your life. You stop fighting reality and begin working with it. You recognize that life has its own rhythm, its own timing, its own intelligence, and that you are not separate from this intelligence, you are part of it. Letting go of control does not make life chaotic, it makes life honest. You begin to see things as they are, not as you demand them to be. You begin to move with life instead of against it. You start trusting that the events unfolding in your life, even the unexpected ones, carry lessons, direction, and meaning that may not be visible in the moment. And something beautiful happens when the illusion of control fades. Your anxiety softens, your fear decreases, and your trust in life deepens. You start living from awareness instead of fear. You begin to experience a freedom that the mind, with all its plans and expectations, could never give you. In this freedom, you discover that life was never against you. It was guiding you, shaping you, and supporting your evolution all along. Another powerful illusion that dissolves when you awaken is the illusion of the separate self. From childhood, you are taught to see yourself as an individual entity, separate from others, separate from nature, and even separate from life itself. You learn to identify with your name, your story, your body, your opinions, and your personal history. You build an inner narrative that says, "This is me," and everything outside of that boundary becomes not me. This separation becomes the foundation of your fears, desires, insecurities, and attachments. But awakening begins to loosen this boundary. You start noticing that the self you've been defending your whole life is nothing more than a collection of memories, labels, beliefs, habits, and mental stories. None of these are truly you. They are simply layers that your mind has accumulated and protected. The more you look at your inner world, the more you realize that this self is not fixed, not solid, and not permanent. It shifts depending on your mood, your environment, your relationships, and even your thoughts. Something that changes so easily cannot be your true identity. When the illusion of the separate self begins to dissolve, you start to feel a profound connection to everything around you. You no longer experience life as you versus the world. Instead, you sense that you are part of the same flow that moves the trees, the oceans, the animals, and even other people. Your boundaries soften, your heart becomes more open. You begin to understand that the same consciousness that looks through your eyes is the same consciousness that looks through the eyes of every living being. This recognition is not philosophical, it is experiential. The illusion of separateness is what creates fear, because it makes you believe you are alone, vulnerable, and incomplete. You feel the need to protect yourself, defend yourself, and constantly prove your worth. You compare, compete, and chase validation because you believe you must survive as an isolated individual. But when awakening expands your awareness, you begin to see that you are never separate to begin with. You are connected through a deeper field of presence, energy, and consciousness that everything is part of. This realization brings a profound sense of peace. When you no longer see others as threats or competitors, your relationships begin to change. Compassion grows effortlessly because you recognize yourself in others, their struggles, their fears, their desires, and their pain. Separation dissolves into understanding. Judgment dissolves into empathy. Superficial interaction dissolves into genuine connection. Awakening also reveals that the deeper essence within you, your awareness, your presence, your consciousness, is limitless. It does not age, it does not fear, it does not cling, and it does not break. It simply observes, experiences, and flows. When you identify with this deeper essence, instead of the small, constructed self, you discover a freedom you never knew was possible. You are no longer trapped inside the story of me. You become spacious, open, and rooted in something far greater than your personal identity. The illusion of the separate self is the foundation of suffering. When it dissolves, your life begins to shift in every direction. Your relationships, your choices, your reactions, and your understanding of existence itself. You begin to experience life not as a solitary individual, but as a conscious participant in a vast interconnected reality. This is where true awakening begins. One of the deepest illusions that dissolves as you awaken is the illusion of permanence. Human beings long for stability. You want your relationships to last forever, your plans to unfold exactly as imagined, your emotions to stay consistent, your body to remain youthful, and your world to feel predictable. This longing for permanence creates the illusion that things should stay the same, that stability is normal, and that change is the exception. But awakening opens your eyes to a fundamental truth. Everything is changing, constantly, silently, without pause. Nothing in existence is fixed. The body is changing. Even in this very moment, cells are dying and being reborn. Your thoughts change from hour to hour. Your beliefs evolve with experience. Your emotions rise and fall like waves. The people you love grow, shift, move, and transform. Nature itself is always in motion. Seasons change, weather shifts, stars explode, oceans move, mountains erode. Everything you have ever known is part of an ongoing dance of becoming and dissolving. But the mind fears this truth. It clings to what feels familiar because it equates permanence with safety. You hold on to relationships even when they no longer nourish you. You hold on to identities that no longer reflect your growth. You hold on to routines that no longer serve your evolution. You cling to the past because you believe losing it means losing yourself. This resistance to change becomes a source of suffering. Awakening gradually softens this resistance. You begin to notice that change is not an interruption of life. It is the nature of life. When you accept this, the illusion of permanence begins to fade. You stop fighting the natural movement of existence. You start flowing with it. You understand that everything you experience, every joy, every challenge, every moment has its place in the unfolding of your consciousness. This realization brings clarity to your relationships. You stop expecting people to remain who they were. You stop holding on to outdated versions of them or yourself. You begin to appreciate people for who they are right now, not for who they were or who you hoped they would be. This creates a new kind of love, one rooted in presence, not possession, one that honors change instead of resisting it. The illusion of permanence also dissolves your fear of endings. You begin to see that endings are not failures, they are transitions. Every ending creates space for something new. Every loss reveals a deeper truth. Every shift opens a doorway you never saw before. You realize that life is a series of chapters, and each one prepares you for the next. Awakening brings you to a place where you no longer cling to moments, people, or identities. Instead, you meet life with openness. You understand that what comes into your life comes for a reason, and what leaves your life leaves for a reason. You trust the intelligence behind these movements. The fear of change dissolves because you no longer see change as a threat. You see it as growth. When the illusion of permanence fades, you step into a deeper relationship with existence. You become present, adaptable, and peaceful. You begin to live fully in the now, appreciating each moment without trying to freeze it. And in that presence, you discover something eternal, not outside of you but within you. Something that does not change even as everything else does. Your awareness, your consciousness, your true self.